Bump it on down. Bump it on down. You're listening to my new song, Bump It On Down, which I've been working on for the last several days. All right already. Anthropos here with another exciting episode of You Don't Know. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do. We're listening here to a little rough mix of my new song, Bump It On Down. Bump it on down, bump it on, bump it on down, bump it on, bump it on down, bump it on, bump it on down, bump it on. Bump it on down. Bump it on down. All right. For your listening enjoyment, that was my latest song there. We tried to do a live podcast Wednesday night, and we failed. There's many things having to do with the encoding, the encoders, and a bunch of different stuff. But I'm on the interface now that I recognize because I've done 2 of these live streaming broadcasts already. And it's just a shame that I had everything set up Wednesday night and tried to get there to the audience. There were people calling me, waiting to hear me and everything like that. And it just didn't work out due to technical issues. So, this whole YouTube live streaming deal is new. And so I'm learning it, as we go. It's really kick-ass. It has its advantages, and it also has its drawbacks. But one of the advantages is you can just go for a super long time, 2 or 3 hours. And not only that, people can join you in the chat room, as you know. And I cannot see them or hear them, but they can see me and they can hear me and they can enter in their comments and questions, or we can cuss each other out by text or something like that, whatever. I can kick them out of the room, right? If we get a troll in there. And that's something that has come up recently. I've got several interviews coming up. I've got an interview with the Basis Project next week, either on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. We're shooting in our new co-host for the show, and Miles Johnson has been very patient with us. And but he's ready to get us on there, and we're going down there for a second time on the Basis Project. Talk about a number of things. For instance, my recent trip to Moab, Utah, which I was in Utah just a few weeks ago, investigating the petroglyphs, the ancient Indian rock art that's up there. And it's very fascinating. And of course, many people, it looks like there's aliens depicted on there, that they have ant people, the little grays, all this. So it's very fascinating to learn about these petroglyphs, these, I can't think of the other name of them. And then the ideograms, in other words, pictures that express an idea. So we'll probably be talking about stuff like that. And Saturday, actually tomorrow night, I have KJ Scoops will be a guest on the show, and she is an experiencer and a super soldier, and has had knowledge and has been involved in the secret space program. Okay, a lot of controversy there, as people don't know what to think of that, but there's something going on because we hear a lot of people talking about it. As a matter of fact, I had Tony Rikas here on the show just a couple of months ago. KJ Scoops is someone who's been targeted in the past, and she's been through some of these programs, some of these type of mind control programs. And so we're going to get her, views on her experiencers. She's a very strong young lady. And so she's not, she's, been traumatized by the experience, of course, but not as much as some other people, it seems. So we're going to try to get to the bottom of some of these things, some of these ideas surrounding the secret space program, and also a lot of ideas and new concept, at least for me, on all this multidimensional stuff, that we keep hearing so much about. And now I'm not disparaging it at all or saying that I don't believe in it. As a matter of fact, everyone who's a fan of this show knows that I do believe in Bigfoot, and that Bigfoot is real. And of course I've had Christopher Jacobs here on the show a number of times, and that's another person we got coming up. We got all kinds of guests coming up, don't we? But yeah, Christopher Jacobs is coming up. KJ Scoops is tomorrow. Miles Johnston is next week, and I'll probably do another show with Keith Anthony Taylor next week. And it seems like there's something I'm forgetting. It seems like there's another show. I can't remember what it is right now. Oh, gotta love the machetes. Got to love the machetes. So anyway, we always have our traditional thing what we do at the beginning of the show, and that is looking all around, huh? Trying to find out what we can see. Ooh, yeah. Ooh. What's that? Oh, hey, it's aliens. Oh, all right. So yeah, we got our props here, and we're ready to do the show. I came in this late at night. It is late at night because the last time I was planning to do show, there was technical difficulties and the whole thing bombed, and people were expecting me to be on there and I wasn't, and everything. And so I needed to practice with this, right? And so we're practicing with it, but we're going to go ahead and make an episode out of it. I can see that there's no visitors in the room. Okay. I got really lucky the first time I did this. I had like 15 or 16 people in the room, all asking good questions and stuff. And these were all seasoned conspiracy theorists. These weren't just, junior wannabes or, newbies, something like this. So I was fascinated by the power of that alone, because there had not been no invitations had gone out. Nothing was scheduled. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's one cool thing about this YouTube live streaming, is it notifies people that, hey, I'm live right now. So let's text Charlie right now, our web designer. So I am live right now. Now, the reason we're doing this is for more testing, but I'm not going to, bother y'all with too much testing. We're going to go ahead and go on with the show. We've got a special treat for you tonight, a book that matches my bandana in color. And let me tell you, this book, very powerful book, a very dangerous book. You won't hear me talking about this book too much because it won't really give people a good impression of you if you've been reading this book. The book will not help you become a better person. I'll tell you that right now. The book is good for one thing and one thing only, and that is winning. If you care about winning, then read this book, because even if you supposedly don't want to do any of the tactics in here, you at least need to read the book to know when these tactics are being used on you. Because let me tell you, if somebody's using the 48 laws of power, they will win. They will not lose, and that goes for every time. The only exception being if they're going against somebody who has read the 48 laws of power and knows it better than they do. All right. And it's not so much learning the 48 laws of power, even though there is quite a lot to learn. There are 48 laws, and they're all, have their, I'll get into the structure of how the book works here in a moment. But there's lots to memorize or learn these concepts, but that's just only half the battle, because unless you can apply the 48 laws of power, then it's all for naught. You got to be able to apply it, and it is hard to apply because most of the things are actually every one of the 48 laws on the 48 laws of power. To execute them goes against human nature. Now, I'm not saying all of that's bad. It's definitely not all good. The book kind of transcends good and evil. And they've got some really good points in the beginning saying, why it's okay to, not to be, but to try to manipulate your reality. Let's get away from, thinking about, that you're manipulating other people, but, other people is what it's about. And that's where other people are where the problems come from, and other people are where the solutions come from. Everything comes from people. All right. So unless you want to go live out in the woods and, like a hermit or something like that, and then you've got to deal with people. And one thing you're going to figure out is that some people are more powerful than others. And the more powerful that you can become, and obviously you're more powerful now than you were when you were a child. Children are powerless. They can't stand it, and that's why they do rant and rave and do all the little tricks they do. Because even at that young age, when their brain and their mind and everything is forming, they are aware of, hey, these adults got all the juice and I don't have any, so there begins the journey to humanism, for humanism, which is a good thing because it beats AI, artificial intelligence. Fuck artificial intelligence. All right. I mean, yeah, it might have some uses, but with artificial intelligence, we're creating our own doomsday weapon. You know what I mean? And this new robot they've got, Sophia, which is a mispronunciation of the name of our planetary animal mother, Sophia, the Pleroma god who is the planet Earth, who became entrapped in the planet Earth and is the planet Earth. You've heard me say this before. There's people that are much better experts on this reality than I am. And the first person that comes to mind would be John Lamb Lash. I'm a real big fan of John Lamb Lash. He gets into, shamanism and all different types of stuff, but he is a true Gnostic, not one of these fake Gnostics, but the true Gnostics, you see. When you think about the Gnostic texts, you think about the Dead Sea Scrolls. You think about the Nag Hammadi codices, the Nag Hammadi texts. And you think, yes, these are Gnostic tomes, so to speak, even though they're fragmented and in very poor condition. Most people don't know that the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi library are in opposition to one another. They're considered the same thing, i.e. Gnostic, because they're either written in Greek or a Coptic type of African language that was around at the time. But they use the same terminology. They have the same cosmology. So they really don't have the same cosmology. That's where it really differs. But there's one has the real one and one has the fake one. One form of this Gnosticism calls out the ETs and calls out the reptilians and calls them what they are and gives a wealth of information on them. The other one doesn't. The other one is in the service of Yahweh or Jehovah, the angry old white man in the sky is going to come kick your ass, eat your children or whatever. Saturn's, Kronos, whatever you want to call it, which is a reality, an absolute reality. I can tell you that one of my very first memories, in fact, my first memory that I can still remember now as an adult, was the denial of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ at church, and not as an affirmation, or I didn't profess this or speak this amongst the other people in the congregation. And let me tell you, I was a very small child. I just remember being alone in a room, one of the Sunday school rooms, probably after Sunday school, one of the adult Sunday school rooms, and looking up at that picture, that familiar picture of Jesus that we see, where he looks so much like my uncle, the long, almost golden blonde hair, but it's very light brown, the nice brown beard with the angular face, blue eyes, right? Isn't that nice to have, somebody from the Middle East that has blue eyes? Not saying that there aren't any, but come on, man. Come on. Yeah, and he looks just like my uncle. Come on, man. I looked at that picture and I said, you know what? This isn't real. So, y'all know that I'm not a Christian. Okay. I don't I don't even want to get into it, but let me tell you, after a whole lifetime of not being a Christian and not believing in Jesus and everything like that, but holding out, well, maybe some of it could be true or something like that. Don't really know. We're getting some indications now that, yes, that shit really did happen. It really is true. Which doesn't change anything as far as my personal, belief in Christianity or something like that. Jesus don't need me. Jesus don't need me. And at the same time, and Jesus doesn't need any praise from me or any worship or anything like that. He's just all right with me, and I'm just all right with him. And one of the fascinating ironies about it is that I hate to admit this, kind of it's a little bit tops. I work for the Lord. I work for a couple of different things. I don't really want to get into it, but before you disparage me and send me to hell for being a sinner and everything like that, just keep this in mind. I'm closer to God than you are. All right. And I don't even believe in God. So you put that in your pipe and smoke it, huh? I hope I didn't piss you off too much. All right. I know what it is, and it's not a blessing. It's a curse. There's many, many things I know. I've dedicated a lifetime to this, looking into conspiracies. That's what it looks like on an outward face. The truth is, I've spent a lifetime looking for God. And a couple of years ago, I found her. And she's beneath your feet. You're standing on her right now. This planet, this one right here, that's the only thing that's real. What in the air is real? What in the sky is real? You don't know. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do. Unless you're up there flying around in your own spaceship or airplane or something like that. You don't know. They can put images up there and stuff like that. You don't know what this flying around up in there, Even when you get up on a jet airliner, just like I was just a few weeks ago, flying to the Denver airport, right? The big Illuminati airport, with all the conspiracies and all that stuff. You're just up there in a tin box, man. You don't know what's going on. You just don't. Water. You don't know what's going on under the water. You just don't. I mean, the water is more of a final frontier than space is. And then fire, that's the other element. You've got fire, earth, wind, and water. Fire, you don't know what's inside of fire because you can't go inside there and look because you'll get burnt up. You understand me? Burnt the fuck up. All right? But these elements, earth, wind, fire, water, these are not the elements that we know of. In other words, the element of water is not something that you go bathe in. The element of fire is not something that you heat a fire with. The element of air is not something that you breathe. These are more subtle, finer aspects. They are related to their counterpoint, to their corresponding, elemental fire is related to a real fire that you make with matches and stuff like that. Elemental water is related to water that's out at the lake and stuff like that. And that's why there's so many, in the case of water, that's why there's so many paranormal phenomenon associated with water. You ever notice that? Lots of paranormal phenomenon associated with water. Somehow the water acts as a mirror. And it does more than that. There's just a lot of shit going on with water. That's why Chatmul, the Mayan deity who has the bowl, and the stupid archaeologists mistakenly said, they did human sacrifices and put a still beating human heart in this bowl for him to sit there, and he's sitting there smiling and stuff. That's not what that bowl is. That bowl holds water, and he's using this water to do his gazing, to do his divination. Just even in the Bible, even though supposedly you're not supposed to practice magic, the Bible is nothing more than a story of magic from beginning to end. All of those people in the Bible, all the prophets, and all of them, they're all initiates, just like I am in a secret society. That's what the Bible is a story about. I mean, there's no getting around it. And when Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, they were jealous because he had the coat of many colors, that his father had given him. I can't remember his father's name. Well, anyway, they sold his ass into Egyptian slavery, which that's a metaphor. Listen, here's what I'm trying to tell you. The Bible is an astrotheological text. Everything in there is metaphor. It's supposed to be metaphor. You were never supposed to believe the Bible that stuff actually happened like it's written. It was not intended to that. That's the deception. Is in today's world, the fundamental Christians say, if one word of the Bible is not true, then it's all a bunch of lies. We live by the Bible and all this stuff. Well, hell, which one? There's so many editions and what do you call it? Editing, editions, right? Where you edit stuff in, you edit stuff out. Hey. Elohim, or the gods, or God, was turned into a singular when in the original it was actually plural. The gods. Now all we have is God, because of the at one-ment, the idea of one God to rule them all. Jehovah, Yahweh. He has different names. And so what was one of the world's first monotheistic religion? And it was not one of the Abrahamic religions, if that's what you're going to guess. And by that, I mean the salvationist religions, including Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, right? We see so much conflict between these three religions, but aren't they all three just stories or religions off the same branch, right? What's really going on? But we have to somehow believe in one of those three. We have to just be a Christian or a Jew or a Islamist, right? But hey, come on, man. What's really going on? So you might think I'm one of these smarty pants people that doesn't have religion. And that's not true. You're supposed to have religion. What do I mean by that? You're supposed to. What do you mean? What the fuck are you talking about? I'm supposed to have religion, huh? Who says who? That's a very good question with a simple answer, and I'm glad you asked. This realm that we're living in, this reality, this matrix. There's rules. It is a rule. It's not always really enforced completely, but let me just put it like this. They want you to have a religion, and they don't give a fuck what it is, but they want you to have a religion. But if you're one of these people that say, "Oh, I don't have religion, I believe in science," well, let me tell you, that's not, what you call science is not science. It's scientism. It is a religion. It's even more of a rabid, religion than Christianity, so to speak. So, you can't even argue with me about that. Science, so-called science, which is really scientism, which is just all dogma, has nothing to do. The scientists run from the truth. They're not. The last thing they want in science is the truth. I'll tell you that right now. Now, I mean, of course, chemistry. Yeah, well, we got to be able to blow shit up. We got to be able to run cars and send over, drones and kill people and stuff like that. So, yeah, chemistry's got to work. I mean, there's plenty of lies there, too, mostly having to do with, free energy, scalar, potential and stuff like this. But the actual real chemistry that we use, it works. We know it works. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the model of the atom has any correctness to it at all, or if there's even such thing as an atom. Atom, A-T-O-M, atom, as in atomic, as in atomic weaponry. I'm not going to get into that. I'm telling y'all, I know some shit. Blow your fucking mind, dude. Many reasons I don't reveal some of these things is because if it's not within your programming to be capable of taking in that knowledge, then you will not believe it no matter what. Even if it was staring you right in the face, you wouldn't believe it. Not because you're stupid, not because you're crazy, not because I'm stupid, and not because I'm crazy, but because of the programming. What is this programming? I don't know. But I have done enough observation in this plane and in this reality to come to the realization that there is a matrix-like aspect to the world we live in. Definitely and without a doubt. Now, who's enforcing this? Is there a Mr. Smith or whatever? I don't know. But, oh, Michael Turner. Michael Turner. Oh, when did I find out that my family was connected to the national security state? I knew it all along, Michael. For those of y'all who don't know, my new book is out and it's available at youdon'tknow.io. And the name of my book is My Family Created the National Security State, and then in parentheses, No Need to Thank Me. Wow, that's a hell of a title for a book, isn't it? I mean, it's not your family. It's not Joe Blow's family over there. It's my family. Created the national security state. Well, what do you mean by I mean the that national security state, the dark state, the deep state. Yeah, that one. And it's not even a secret. It's not top secret or anything. A fifth grader can go look it up in 5 minutes. Regardless of how the way the government works today or how we think it works or whatever, it worked far differently back in the last century, in the 20th century, than the people that were there, including myself and y'all too, than we thought it worked. It worked differently than that, and it's changed towards the last century. But for over 40 years in the 20th century in the United States of America, one man controlled every dime of the American defense budget. That means every dime that went to the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, most of the money that the country had, it was controlled by one man. And it just so happens that one man was my father's uncle, congressional leader George Mahon, who I have the same last name as him. No, my real name is not Anthropos. Okay, that's my pseudonym. So yeah, I am a Mahon, and I am on the bloodlines of the Pharaonic dominators. I did not learn that until I was 21 years old in a letter that came to me that was delivered by courier, and there's lots of strange things about it. I can't tell you what's in the letter. But as far as my family, let's see, Martin Bormann in the German Nazi Party. What about Martin Bormann in the German Nazi Party, Michael Turner? I'm so glad we've got a guest here. You know, we were doing our technical challenges and checks, you know, after our big epic fail the other day when we weren't able to go online with the live broadcast. And I think Michael may have been here. Michael, were you at the show I did not this week, but last week on a Wednesday night, the very first show? Martin Bormann had complete control of the funds. Oh, that's fascinating. Of the Nazi funds. You know, and there's a lot of people, this is actually kind of common knowledge these days. Okay, of the Nazi funds. And Michael, did you know that the Nazis, that they got all their initial seed money from the American taxpayers, and it was given to them through a bank owned by a man named Prescott Bush, who's the father of George Bush Sr. and the grandfather of George W. Bush? I bet you did know that, didn't you? No, we'll find out here in a second. There's a little bit of a slight time delay. So yeah, so not only did my great uncle control every dime of the United States defense budget for over 40 years. Oh yeah, Michael Turner. Yep. Once again, he's right. He's almost beaten me to the punch, almost, but not quite. But he's naming the bank that was used by the Bushes to deliver money to the Nazis. In other words, that's how the system works. We create our own enemies. You know what I mean? And it's pretty much common knowledge that we put Saddam Hussein in power. We put Khomeini in power. We put, you know, all these guys that we out, you know, Muammar Gaddafi, you know, and all the shit that we, you know, oust 30 or 40 years later. This is how they got there in the beginning. We put them there. All right. That's how the game works, okay? Oh, they'll scream bloody murder about that in Congress and say, no, we really are fighting a war on this or fighting a war on that. Well, they vote themselves all kinds of nice pensions and stuff like that. You know what some of our viewers have said about that, about what they feel about that. They don't like that. Nope. They don't like that. So anyway, just to recap the story of my book, just paraphrase it or whatever, and the somewhat odd and definitely audacious claim that my family created the national security state. So not only did George Mahon control every dime of the defense budget of the United States of America, he created some agencies that you may have heard of. He created the NSA. He created the CIA. He created the FBI. And he created NASA. He also started a program called Operation Paperclip, which brought over all the German scientists. And you can find a picture real easily on the internet of him palling around with then Governor Jerry Ford, you know, later to become President Gerald Ford, and Werner von Braun, the famed Nazi scientist, the SS officer, in fact, who eventually got made the head of NASA. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Now, let's see. Oh, Michael Turner has a comment here. It says, are you aware of Lincoln and how he sold us out and did not free a soul? No, I'm not aware of that, Michael Turner, and I think that you're fixing to tell me, but what I can advise the listeners about, I'm going to tell you all a quick quote from Lincoln right here, which means I've got to kind of minimize this. Okay, so we're still going here. And I'm going to read a quote to y'all from Lincoln. I don't know how to put pictures on here where y'all can see them. And obviously there's a way to do that. Let's see, it's the pop-out chat, the toggle timestamps, participants. You see, we're doing a technical shit here. Huh, what? Let's see. Okay, so I just put something on. Emoji. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do an emoji. People, huh. I wonder how I. Oh, that's how I would share it. Okay. I'm wondering how I put a. No,